Hey guys, today we're checking out some of the hidden buffs and nerfs introduced in patch 7.10. So this is the less obvious stuff, the indirect changes, I guess, that people won't have spotted just yet, and it looks like the toxic top lane champions are back. Before we start the video, there are a few days left on the $500 RP giveaway with haste. A link for that is down below to check out, and that's super easy to enter as well. Also, make sure you go and give haste a try so that we can do more stuff like this. They connect you to the illegal Overwatch servers directly through them, which means less ping, less lag, and a much more stable connection. It won't work for everybody, but I've been using it. I know a lot of you have as well. It's free and a link is down below. So getting into the video, the first one is just a quick mention about Zack and Heimerdinger. Like, both are kind of hidden buffs here. Like, I know they were directly buffed in the patch notes, but it wasn't obvious how good they were going to be. Heimer's damage seems to be off the charts, something I definitely did not see coming, and Zack's win rate has spiked to the best jungler overall this patch, a massive jump from like the worst last patch. Heimer actually seems to have way more towers early now, even if they hit for a bit less, more rockets, and the ability to burst a bit harder. What I've seen more than anything is triple Torrent's ring, actually, like rocket spam, towers hit their beams, and then you instantly grenade, you full charge them, and they beam again, which is a lot of damage in a very short space of time. It's also hidden because people have average at best win rates with him right now, but if you look at people who have played Heimerdinger before this buff, they're actually close to 57% win rate after the patch, which is crazy high. People seem to be picking him more against tanks or scaling bruisers more than anything else. Interestingly though, he's actually beating Kled and Darius pretty hard at the moment, so maybe we have a counter for them finally. Zack's buffs I thought were so small, like even Riot didn't expect the effect they had actually, but it seems to be how smooth his kit goes together now. You have more damage anyway because the Q has a percentage health scaling now, so the more health you have, the more damage it does, but also because you can combo your W and E easier with Q. The animation doesn't lock you for as long now. It's a small change, but with a big effect apparently. Like, I won't go into it too much, but definitely not something we expected at least. Now, the first real hidden buff on this patch was to Riven, but to understand that we have to kind of look at the hidden nerf, which was to Renekton. The E bug fix was a buff but nothing major. The W bug fix though is what we're looking at. Like, it's increasing the self stun when using W. I called it a self stun because you can't move for the duration as if you were stunned, but it's actually almost a 30% increase in time. The issue is now if you stun somebody and they have tenacity, so like Mercury treads or something, you are stunned for longer than they are. You can press W on someone, they can move before you can. That is crazy. That shouldn't really happen. A lot of Renekton mains are struggling with this at the moment. As a casual player, you won't feel it as much, I guess, but it takes away from some of the skill of playing this guy. That kind of leads into Riven though. So the Q animation cancelling is smoother and more consistent now, i.e. basically good Riven players just got a nice buff. There are two main things though. So it's more consistent on the animation, which means more consistent damage output and cancelling, and yes, you actually rely on this for trading a lot. The other thing is your Q is better on high ping servers now. So for lots of people who played Riven on high ping, this just makes them again do more damage without changing anything. It is not just her though, actually. Remember, Renekton gets nerfed, Kennen hasn't been played as much anymore top lane this patch, and Top Fizz got a good nerf as well. Suddenly after that, Riven is basically at the top of top lane again. In all seriousness, like with these changes hidden in the patch notes put together, Riven in my opinion becomes better on good players and doesn't have many super crap matchups anymore. We haven't seen her for a long time actually, but the Death Dance buffs last patch really helped her, and now we have all of these other changes on top as well adding together. I'm expecting to actually see her having one of the best win rates top lane this patch when everything updates. You can also argue Yasuo is basically the same in a lot of ways too, by the way, so this patch is only going to make both of these, Riven and Yasuo, much stronger in the top lane. Now if we move to bot lane, this one is a little different. The nerf to Lulu actually helps Ziggs bot lane quite a bit. Ziggs is one of the only champions bot lane to have a solid win rate against Caitlyn consistently, but Lulu kind of cock blocks Ziggs pretty hard. Lulu can speed people up, which means the AD can dodge Qs very easily. She shields the poke damage, especially now they all max their E anyway, and also her ultimate basically ignores his ultimate for single target at least. Once you get into team fights, Lulu is nowhere near as good at protecting everybody from the AoE damage, but in lane phase you cannot do that much single target. Now the reason it works more than anything against Caitlyn is because she kind of just AFK shoves the wave with Q over and over, right? That's pretty much the playstyle everybody uses. Ziggs is one of the only champions who can actually stop it with his Q spam, and suddenly Caitlyn becomes a lot worse. You take away her free poke on the tower, like abusing her range, no cheeky traps to make you miss CS, and life becomes a lot easier. You also do a ton of damage which Caitlyn cannot really keep up with early into the game. She wants to slowly poke you down, but you just burst her instead before she can. I'm not saying that you want to pick Ziggs every single game or anything like that, but especially in an all AD team or against Caitlyn, Ziggs is really good and got a little hidden buff this patch because of the Lulu nerf. If we move on to the mid lane with Fizz, so we've already talked about top lane making room for Riven and stuff, but the mid lane also got a nerf early game. He did did get his AP ratios buffed, remember, so more deadly mid game, but in lane he should be a little bit easier. And also, if champions get nerfed, they do normally get played a bit less. Both of those things together means poke champions are likely going to be a bit stronger now, or you can play them more at least because they're not going to be countered straight away. We're seeing slight buffs actually in win rate to Xerath, Vel'Koz, and Ziggs especially, who before were getting a little bit ruined by the fish and now have a bit more breathing room. There is also another side of this, which means Kassadin is even better at shutting Fizz down now. He got a little buff actually in the notes anyway, but a buff and a nerf from other stuff as well. The buff is just Fizz being weaker, so it's an even easier matchup, but the nerf is more about the poke side. Poke is actually quite good against Kassadin. They can get him low before he jumps in. They also outrange that jump, and there's not much he can do about that. Especially Vel'Koz actually is a skill matchup, but when Kassadin jumps in, you knock him up and you combo him, and there's not really much he can do. More than anything, it's likely going to mean that we're going to see more poke champions coming up, and Kassadin is probably going to counter Fizz mid lane a bit more, but if you can survive the lane phase on Fizz, you're going to do a lot more damage. Looking at the jungle, we had a lot of nerfs this patch, right? Graves, Lee Sin, Ivan, kind of Sejuani, though not really Sejuani. With those big boys getting nerfed though, other stuff is definitely going to come back a little bit more because they were so popular. Looking specifically at Graves, Kha'Zix, Sejuani, and Warwick are all good matchups that just got even better that you'd want to play against him. For Lee Sin, Warwick, again, like Xin Zhao actually outscales him, and Jarvan is kind of like a new rising star at the moment who's better this patch against him. With Ivan, it's again more scaling, like Xin Zhao, Yi, I guess it can power through the shields, or even Jarvan again. Jarvan is a really weird one. He's popped up a few times. As more of these carry junglers actually get nerfed, he seems to just naturally be getting a lot better, even though he's not getting directly touched himself. Honestly, probably the biggest hidden buff to the jungle is actually to this guy because he's getting so much better, but there was nothing in the patch notes. Kha'Zix would be the other one here for sure. Like, he's already decent, one of the few left that hasn't been nerfed into the ground, so this will be a time to pick him back up again, and I think we're going to see him a lot more, especially when Graves is picked on the enemy team. I don't want to make this video too long, so we're going to end it there. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for watching, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.